tell me about any mistakes that you kind of made being a teenager or being in your early 20s up to now, that you may say they taught you something, and maybe at some point you are proud of making those mistakes because they taught you something, or you regret making those mistakes.
So at university, I was always pushing to try to get through all the work and try to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But I also got very much into gym while I was at university. I was in the gym every single day. And between trying, pushing late nights and early mornings, trying to get through the work and understand the content, and being in the gym every day and not giving my body a break, I kind of found myself in that exact position, like what you're saying now, where you always saw the time, you can't concentrate, you're burnt out, you just don't feel well at all.
Yeah. Ryan, you strike me as someone who's very calm and chilled in every situation. I've never seen you freak out in any situation when we are at work or wherever. You're always chilled. And there's this thought or sort of mindset that I have that what we are and the way how we interact to stimuli, to external and internal stimuli is based on how we were brought up or how we grew. So I just want to know, take me through your upbringing. How was it such that it molded you to become the man that you are today?
So, hi everyone. I was born and raised here in Durban.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the calmness, don't know if it comes so much from my upbringing, but just who I am as a person.
Yeah.
So one thing that was throughout my childhood was I had an insatiable curiosity, and that's what has driven me to who I am today. So I was always asking 1,001 questions, always how does this work? Why does it work the way that it does?
Yeah.
And that curiosity drives a sense of willingness to learn kind of thing. But it's a bit of a hit or miss because that same curiosity often gets you into trouble as well.
Yeah.
And it gets you into situations where I'm outing myself here, where you get caught doing something you're not supposed to be doing, taking things apart and stuff like that. And yeah, just so I've got a story that I often talk about is I remember when I was in my grade 10 English class, and we were doing English as we do, and I had taken apart all of my pens and put them all the colors together and all the springs together and blah blah blah. And my teacher was so cross with me because when came time to start working, all my pens had been completely disassembled and I had nothing to write with. So I think it's that kind of thing where you get caught in situations where it's uncomfortable, and I kind of because of this curiosity, but just in general, I try to push myself because I believe if you're comfortable being uncomfortable, there is nothing that can rock you kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that leads to that, me being cool and calm and collected, no matter how bad the situation may look.
Yeah, because I've noticed that you're very calm, but you always ask the relevant questions whenever we are in a room where we are having a discussion or talking about any certain subject. But how you were born here in Durban?
Yes, yeah.
Are you the only child, or you have siblings?
No, I'm fortunate enough to have one younger brother.
Oh, you have one younger brother.
Yeah, 2 years younger than me. And yeah, we grew up together. We've been together always until I had to go to Pretoria to go to university.
You studied in University of Pretoria?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And I'm a firstborn.
Really?
Yeah. So I know that being a firstborn, it has its ups and downs, its pros and cons. So I just want to know from you, are there any challenges that you would say maybe you went through and it was because maybe you are a firstborn or anything like that?
So I think it's the normal, or what you often see with firstborns is because you're always the first person to go to school, or you're the first person to encounter a new stage in your life, you always have to encounter the challenges of pioneering into that section of your life. For example, myself as the firstborn, I was the first person to go to school, first person to go to university, first person to get a job. And it's daunting because you don't always have someone that's done those things that you can talk to about it. So I think that's exactly like you say. It's different. There are some challenges involved in being a firstborn,
Yeah.
but we just take it as it goes, dude.
Yeah, true. We take it as we go, man. So you went to study in University of Pretoria, and you studied mechanical engineering, right?
Mm.
Talk talk to me about mechanical engineering when you made a decision that you want to study mechanical engineering. Was it that it's something that you always wanted to do, or you loved it, or it was just like most of the people when you're in grade 12, you have to decide what you want to do
Yes, yeah.
in varsity, or how did you come about the decision that you're going to study mechanical engineering?
So for me, it was really, really tough.
Mm,
So because I was got to like a kind of like a crossroads of sorts where I had to choose which interest I wanted to go down and follow. So I had a huge interest in biology, maths, and science. So was it, do I go down the biology route and go into like a medical kind of profession? And then at that point, you completely spanning maths and physics. Or do you go down the engineering route or like mechanical engineering, in which case you're not really following the biology route? And it was like a big toss up, dude. Like it creates a lot of like internal conflict. Like which road do I go down? Which do I
mm,
choose? So I eventually, what I figured was with engineering, you're doing both maths and science. And there would be a lot more like flexibility and new challenges that I could face coming in engineering. So I decided to go down the engineering road. But then I also played to, remember I was talking earlier about breaking things up to see how things worked. So I think it was, now that I've done it, it was like a natural road to follow. Because I was always like, how do cars work? How does this work? How does that
mm.
work? And here I am, a mechanical engineer, breaking things down and building things
Yeah,
up.
a huge achievement. Now, when we talk about your personal life as a person, would you say that studying mechanical engineering has sort of molded you to being the person that you are and to carry yourself the way you carry yourself right now?
So I think it most certainly did.
Mm,
So in every profession, you'll see there's certain characteristics
mm,
that kind of like go well with that profession. And a lot of these things are skills that they teach in university.
yeah.
So I've always been a very analytical kind of minded person
Mm,
and I enjoy learning and things. But then having studied mechanical engineering, it teaches you to analyze things and problem solve. And I think that's become a big part of how I am and how I go about doing things today is just being able to problem solve and especially take big concepts and break them down into easier to understand like chunk size bits of information.
ah, okay. But talk to me about any challenge that you maybe have faced. Maybe it might be in varsity or when you were in high school or wherever. A challenge
Mhm.
that when you remember it, like you can never forget that challenge. It might be socially, academically, or however.
Mm.
What is that one thing that maybe you faced and you can say it taught you something?
So one thing that comes to mind always
Mm,
is I started university in 2020. So I'd moved to Pretoria, so I was in a new city trying to figure out how to live on my own, and it was in the height of the COVID lockdown. And it was difficult, man. Like everything had completely been upended. I had moved out away from home, so I had to now figure out how to live by myself. I was at a new university, so I had to go out and meet new people. And then there's the challenges of lockdown, obviously. And it was like a completely new start that I did not know how to deal with because I had no like foundation to build myself off of, if that makes sense. So that experience, like really, it was very, very daunting. But like step by step, you like get through it day by day and you can like figure out what you need to figure out. And it teaches you to be a lot more like independent
mm,
and also teaches you that no matter how daunting something might look
mm.
when you first appear, just by taking it one step at a time, it kind of allows you to break those big things down into small, easier to achieve steps. Similar to you can't eat an elephant in one bite.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of concept. So yeah, that was just a big challenge that I faced in my life that for me was extremely daunting, and I was struggling, didn't know how to deal with it. And it kind of like teaches you just to take things one step at a time, dude.
Yeah. Also, even with myself, one thing that life has taught me is that us as people, we tend to think that you have to tackle everything at once. If
Mm.
you're having a problem, you have to face it head on all at once. But you actually need to break each and every problem down, each and every situation. You need to break it down. Same as your dreams and everything that you want. You can't skip steps. You need to break everything down into different parts and know which one you're going to start by tackling. So I think
Mm.
that's a very good problem resolving skills that a person can attain. And also university helps you to attain that, because if you have a chat with someone who maybe they didn't get a chance to go to tertiary, it might be college or university,
Mm.
and try to hear their analytical thinking, you'd see that even with problems, some they don't really know how to kind of break down problems or whatever that they're thinking about, to break it down and make it understandable. I
Mm.
feel like that's one thing that also going to university or college or just being educationally liberated, it teaches you as well. So tell me, what's your dream in the engineering field? I know that you love mechanical engineering right now. I may be wrong, I don't know.
Yes, yeah.
But what's your dream as a mechanical engineer?
So my dream as a mechanical engineer, it's it's tough to like to say at the
Mm-hmm.
moment because we're molding and we're learning.
Yeah.
And having just started out as a mechanical engineer, I'm still very much figuring out the ropes.
Mm.
But I think the eventual dream one day would be to, well, I love design engineering, to kind
Mm.
of get a problem coming in, and then you have to try to understand the problem and then design something to solve that problem. So my dream would be to get into a position where I can do that kind of thing, whether it's owning my own firm or being high up in a design firm that allows me to tackle these challenges on a day-to-day basis and just keep things interesting.
Mm. Mm. You are mentioning something that is very important, opening your own firm. There are so many engineers in South Africa. One thing that I realized recently is that we have so many people who went to university and studied engineering in South Africa, but most of them they move and they go to work abroad, overseas, because
Yes, yeah.
of whatever reasons that they have. But we have a very small amount of engineers who went to varsity and they actually have a dream and zeal to start their own firm so that they can benefit our country. Because if there is anything that is going to contribute to our economy, almost directly,
Mm.
and contributing to the growth of our economy, it's engineering firms. And because technology is growing every day,
Always.
but it's like we go to university, study engineering, and then we just like, okay, I'm gonna go and work as an engineer and that's it. But we ignore the fact that the knowledge that I got, I don't actually need to just apply it in my workplace, but they teach us to think out of the box, right? And you know that if you're working in a corporate or in a certain company, if it's automotive, your thinking is kind of going to be cubed around automotive. If
Yes,
it's
yeah.
if it's mining, your thinking is going to be cubed around mining. But if you open your mind into other things, to just learn new skills, new engineering skills, that's where you can have a broad thinking and come to a conclusion that, okay, I can actually start a firm, I can actually start a consulting company and
Mm.
benefit the country. So that's a very great thing. And so right now where you are, was this your first job or you've
Yes, this is
worked
my first job.
how are you adjusting to the transition from tertiary to now being an employee and a taxpayer?
It's been very exciting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also been a little bit scary at the same time.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that was very difficult for me at university was time management.
Mm-hmm.
So, managing time to get everything done in a
Yeah.
reasonable space of time.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about university that's very nice is everything is very structured and set. So your assignments are always going to come at some time. Your exams are always going to come at a certain time.
Yeah.
But then you just oppose that to the work world where everything's changing all the time. It's a very dynamic environment. So you might come into a day thinking, I'm just going to work on X, Y, and Z, but something else comes up entirely and you got to shift your time plan or your diary to account for these things.
Yeah.
So one thing I've been having to learn is to adjust, to manage your time on the fly kind of thing, to prioritize your tasks correctly and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, another thing that I've had to learn that was quite difficult was always just going and asking for help. So at university, you can always refer back to a textbook or something like that. But when you get to the work world, there is no textbook that you can just study from.
Yeah.
The information you need needs to come from seniors and stuff like that.
True.
And at university, I'd be very willing to go and ask my friends and my peers and stuff. But I'd very rarely approach the staff to ask what their thoughts and opinions on something was. So yeah, that's just been something I've been learning as well, is to go to your management, go to senior management and ask these questions, because that's the only way that you actually move forward and achieve results.
Yeah. No, I get that. I want us to talk about something, this always come to my mind almost every day. I feel like when you are in this age of 20 years to 30 in the middle, it's a very serious period of your lifetime, if I may say. I just want to know how you think about it, because for me, I always think that it's that moment where, as a person, you have to be really, really focused. You have to structure what you do and what you don't do. You have to know what takes your attention and what doesn't take your attention, what you focus on and what you don't have to focus on, because it's a very crucial age, in a sense that when you're in your 20s, it means you're just transitioned from tertiary into the workplace, and now you're just starting your career. You're not like those people who are already in the work environment. Those people, they are above 30, most of them.
Yes.
But now, when you're in your 20s, you have just transitioned from tertiary to workplace, and now you're trying to get things together. You're trying to structure your life to become the way you have always wanted. This is where, the dream that you had when you were in high school, now you know whether you are running towards that dream or you can't anymore completely. Now that we're here, so I just want to know, do you perceive it that way, that it's like you need to be strictly focused, or maybe I'm just thinking too deep about it?
I'm personally somewhere in the middle. So I believe that this time it's a very important time to be building. So you've just started your career. You're currently in the phase where you're starting to come to your feet. You're trying to understand where you are, and you need to set the direction that you need to go for the rest of your life. So in that way, it's very important that you kind of focus and you start building yourself as a person, firstly, and then build your career to be in the direction that you want to go. But one thing I learned at uni was I very much fell into the trap of thinking to succeed, you got to work extremely hard. So I often pushed late nights. I was working around the clock, gymming like no tomorrow. And what ends up happening is you burn out very quickly, and because you lose that work-life balance, as they call it. So I believe that even though there is this importance of building, it's also just as important to learn to rest and recover and do the things that you love doing. Because what I've learned this year is that you're actually more effective in trying to achieve what you want to achieve when you've rested and you're refreshed than if you just keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. So I think it's very difficult, and it's not an answer that everyone likes to hear.
Yeah.
But you got to find the balance between the two. But I think something that's very crucial as well is you need to find where the two of them combined. So you want to push your career into somewhere in a direction that you enjoy doing, right? And then that kind of gets rid of the whole work-life balance thing. It grays the area out quite a lot. But I think if you're working on something that you're truly passionate about, and it doesn't feel like you're working. It allows you to push far beyond what you would be able to achieve if work was like a slug, 9 to 5 kind of thing that you just have to get through every day.
Right.
So you got to find like the balance and the combination of the two. And that's
Yeah.
what I believe is quite important for this 20 to 30 kind of
Yeah.
range.
No, I understand. And that's true because when you do something that you love and you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like work to you.
Exactly, yeah.
Same as how I feel when I do podcasting, when I do music. To me, and I've noticed that I put in so many hours doing it, but I don't feel it.
You don't feel that at
But when
all.
I'm, where I work in my workplace now, I can feel that this is 8 hours now. Not that I don't love it, I love it, but it's enjoyable
It's a
at
grind
times.
at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when I'm doing something that I love, I can feel that I'll see that I've been sitting for 8 hours editing, I've been recording, but I don't
You don't
feel
feel
it.
it.
Yeah.
And I think that really helps a lot in terms of mastering something. Being able to put in the hours without feeling exhausted by the fact that you're putting in the hours. And it really helps to like keep you motivated to keep moving towards your dreams and what you want to achieve.
Mm.
So I hear what you're saying entirely with the podcast. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. But there is one most important thing that I've also been learning through all this. In the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've not been very well with my health. And I think there's a lot of factors that are contributing to that, including my, food that I'm eating, also spending too much time, you know, sitting and on the screen all the time. So I remember on the 4th of August, I was not feeling well, and I woke up and I had to go see the doctor. And when I went to see the doctor, they told me that I told them the symptoms. They told me that no, you are having acid reflux. Maybe do you drink a lot of Coke? Do you drink alcohol? And I said no, I don't drink all of that. They asked me all those things, but they never got to ask me what I was actually doing.
Yes,
Which
yeah.
is eating unhealthy food, because ever since the year has started, I've been eating a lot of spicy food, unhealthy food. I didn't even care. I was just eating, and as a result, it was affecting my health because I started having this acid reflux. When you feel a burning sensation in your
Yes, yeah, it
stomach,
burns all the way
and
down.
there's this sour gas that is always coming up your esophagus, and I was like, at one point, I was telling, someone, Uti, what if I die? Because it was so crazy. Like, I couldn't understand what's happening. My mouth is so sour, my stomach is burning. It was crazy. And at the same time, those symptoms were mixed. My back was hurting as well. And my back hurting, I think it was a result of sitting on the chair for so many hours, as I was telling you. So I think that's where, as you were saying, that you need to find a balance between working, and also, as much as this is something that I love and it doesn't feel like work to me when I'm doing it, I need to find a balance to tone it down, or like just know that this is the time for me to work. This is the time for me to rest.
Yes, yeah.
You raised a very important point that you need to know that resting actually is part of the work. So I think that's one of the things that I was not doing, and it was kind of affecting my health. But I'm glad that I learned that very earlier, because a lot of things that I'm doing right now I just started this year. So it's all those things that I'm discovering. Okay, so when you do this, you need to be careful of this. When you do this, you need to be careful of this. Back then I never paid to my eating habits, what I eat, because it was just like, but now, because
Now that you've experienced this.
yeah, so I need to watch what I eat. I need to watch how many hours am I spending sitting, being on the screen. So that's a very, very important thing that I'm learning right now. Tell me about any mistakes that you kind of made, being a teenager or being in your early 20s, up to now, that you may say they taught you something, and maybe at some point you are proud of making those mistakes because they taught you something, or you regret making those mistakes?
So, funny story is actually what we were just talking about now.
Yeah.
So when I've always been I've always had a very good work ethic.
Mm.
Um, but my problem was it was too much so.
Mm.
So at university, I was always pushing to try to like get through all the work and try to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But I also got very much into gym while I was at university. I was in the gym every single day. And between trying like pushing late nights and early mornings, trying to like get through the work and understand the content, and being in the gym every day and not giving my body a break, I kind of like found myself in that exact position, like what you're saying now, where like you always saw the time, you can't concentrate, you're burnt out, you just don't feel well at all.
Yeah.
And it was like I got to a point where my body basically forced me to
Mm.
take a break because I'd worked so hard, and then your body would just crash. And then like a weekend, you're just sleeping the entire weekend because that's all you have left.
Mm.
And it's now that I finished university and I had an opportunity to take a step back and reflect on my journey through university, I realized exactly that, where your rest, being able to rest and recover, is extremely important in pushing towards your goals. And by completely neglecting that at university, I was doing myself a disservice actually, because I was pushing myself further and further away from what I was trying to achieve by
Mm.
not allowing myself to rest and get back to that point where I could be productive.
Mm.
So yeah, so as you say,
Yeah.
that's the lesson that I've been learned the hard way.
No, I get it. What keeps you going um towards your goals? I know that for everyone there is something when you're eager about a certain thing or a certain goal, there is always something that is source of your energy, and it kind
Mm.
of gives you a sense of purpose and reasons why you should keep going, because it's not easy to, something that is valuable is not easy to achieve.
It's not. No.
It's always hard and it comes with a lot of challenges. But I want to know what keeps you going with while you're in this journey of trying to pursue what you love.
So for me, it's always been having a vision of what I want to achieve.
Mm.
So in the beginning, I'll set out and I'll try to understand exactly what it is, exactly what my goal is. And then you kind of like visualize yourself achieving that goal. You visualize what your life will be like with what you have achieved. And I think that's been very important to me as a person when trying to get through these challenges, is because you're always just looking, when things get tough and you just want to give up, you can always look back to that vision basically, and it gives you like that ambition, it gives you that drive and that will to succeed that gets you through those difficult times. So that's been something that's just worked for me. Have you had something similar?
Okay, I understand.
Have you had something similar?
Oh, you mean
Yeah.
um okay, with me there's a lot of factors that push me to achieve my goals and all my dreams. And the one that I can mention the most is that, so I come from Limpopo. It's a very chilled place, a rural area, and I come from a family of five. I'm the firstborn. So when I was growing up, the first thing that that always pushed me to study so hard so that I can get to varsity, it was because I wanted to change kind of the situation that I was seeing at my family. I wanted to just turn the tables around completely. I was not happy with the way how it was,
I see. Yeah.
financially and um, other ways. So my dream is always to it's always been to change that situation and just bring something new and set be sort of a pioneer for something great, for my siblings. I don't want my siblings to go through something that I went through. I don't want them to have to keep going while it's hard like I was. you know.
Like give them something to look up to, kind of.
Yeah, so I feel like my drive has always been my background, where I come from, and also just having vision and ambition, as you were saying, because after all, after wanting to just change the situation at home, there is what I just desire and my vision that I want to achieve, things that I just want to do in life, you know. So what pushes me with that is that I believe in having a purpose um from God. When God made us, I strongly believe that He set each and every one of us apart and said to you, Ryan, I'm sending you to this world to do a certain assignment. I'm sending you vision to go to the world to do a certain assignment. So that's one of the things that keeps me going, that I believe I have a purpose, and my purpose is to spread positivity and help somebody who might be listening to whatever I'm saying, to somebody who might have an encounter with me. What I want is to just teach and just help as much as I can, to help the humanity as much as I can. So that's what I think is my purpose.
I respect
So
that.
yeah, it keeps me going, and it kind of hurt me sometimes when when I'm at a point where I feel like I'm not serving my purpose. One thing that is very important is that, so when I'm home, I get a chance to preach at my church, right? And I'm very grateful because my pastor raised me to become that type of a person who is always eager about serving God, teaching the word of God, and not just teaching it, but living by it. He taught me that. So when I went to varsity, that kind of took another turn. I'm a musician. I play, music instruments, drums, keyboard. I sing as well. So when I
Sure.
went to varsity, I joined a church where I couldn't have the chance to preach like I was at home. I was okay with that, but I had a chance to play drums. I was playing drums in that church, and I believe I was serving the purpose by playing those drums.
Sure.
And what has concerned me over the years is that sometimes I sit down and I think that, am I serving my purpose? Am I doing justice to those souls that they are longing for a gospel that I can be able to share with them? Like, I feel like at a point where I am, I want to go to church on a Sunday morning, grab my Bible, pray, and go tell somebody things that they may be going through, and just deliver them by preaching to them and teaching them the word of God. Sometimes I feel like, okay, am I saving my purpose? But on the other hand, I feel that, okay, the only difference is that then I was doing it at church, but now I have this podcast, and this is where I'm able to interact with different people. But then my problem again is that I'm building a foundation with this podcast, and as a beginning of everything, you don't start by running. You have to go through different steps for you
Exactly. Yeah.
to actually get something right, and for people to actually start paying attention to what you're selling. So it was kind of discouraging me that, okay, I'm making this beyond the vision episodes, but I'm getting 20 views. That means not people are not watching. Maybe people are not finding it interesting. But there's always that voice at the back of your head that tells you the right thing. It is that voice that tells me that among the 20 people that you're seeing and you're feeling like it's not many, those are the people who may be, taking what you're saying and making use of it on their daily lives. So yeah, those are the things that push me to go towards my dreams and continue on pushing, even though it's not easy
I
at
really,
times.
I really like that last point that you said, where it's very easy to say only 20 people are watching my, like, there's only 20 views. But then you can also look at it of, there's 20 views, 20 people watch my video, and 20 people are getting that value that I'm putting out in the world from the
Yeah.
video. So I really like that you try, like, your idea of, like, 20 people, there might be at least somebody who's gaining from the video. Like, it's like a glass half full kind of.
Yeah.
way of looking at it. I like that.
Do you do you believe that you have a purpose, or do you know what your purpose that God gave you is?
So I believe my purpose is to make the life of others better.
Hmm.
Um, be it through being empathetic and providing a safe space for people. It might be helping to guide and mentor people. It might be to create a business that creates jobs for many, many people. So I'm not sure how this purpose is going to manifest itself,
Yeah.
but I believe that that's why I've been put on this earth, is to influence people in a positive way.
Okay.
And as we go through life, you kind of stumble around, and eventually we'll get into the right path of,
Yeah.
this is how I'm going to deliver my purpose that I've been put on this earth for.
Yeah. And I would say that, man, if something you believe that it is your purpose, I always advise each and everyone that I have an encounter and we have a conversation like that. And this is because I respect and believe so much in God's purpose that it matters more than many things in my life.
Mm.
And I feel like, there's these instances where I have these thoughts where I just think, see, what is the reason for being alive? Like, why are we alive? Why are we even
Why are we
existing?
here?
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's where I always come to the conclusion that everyone has a purpose. And I feel like if you live your life to serve your purpose, even when it's time for you to go, when God is calling you and saying, now it's time, you won't feel pain. I, I stand to be corrected, but
Mm.
this is how I perceive it. If you live your life to serve your purpose and when you look back, maybe you're older, when you look back, you're proud of your decisions, you're proud of the things that you did. You were able to um, strive with each and every potential that you had, and you exhibited everything that was in your mind, and you tried to reach your goals. You tried to bring about to life the ideas that you had in your mind that other people didn't know about.
Mm.
And when you look back to it, you feel proud that you did it and grateful that God enabled you to do it. I feel like you're much better than a person who's gonna go to their grave having regrets, saying, Ish, I wish I could have done this. I wish when I was 20 I did this. I wish when I was 50
Mm.
I did this. I feel like there's a difference between those two people. A person who dies knowing that I've accomplished so much, I've served so many people, I've done
Mm.
justice for this group of community and everything. But um the person who, when it's time now, maybe they're sick in hospital or whatever, and they're starting to think back and be like, Ish, I regret doing those things, I regret taking these decisions. I feel like there's a huge difference with that. So that kind of gives me a sense that that's what makes life to be life,
Mm.
having a purpose and serving your purpose. So I always encourage everyone that if something you think is your purpose, no matter what that may be, an obstacle in this life, try by all means to serve it, try by all means to do it. It's not easy. Some of the things that God brought us here to do, they require us to go through so many hills, and we need to climb mountains and hills until we actually get there. But if it's your purpose, it's something that is going to give you a sense of the reason why we exist
Yes,
in
yeah,
this
I
life.
get that.
No. Yeah, so yeah, I'm just saying that to encourage you as well, and also the people who are watching, that if you have a purpose and there's something that you think, this is my purpose, try by all means to do it. Try by all means to achieve it. It might not be easy, but it's worth it doing it because you believe it's your purpose. What
So,
what is an advice that you, based on your experience,
mm.
because you went to varsity, you studied mechanical engineering, and you studied at tax. I know it's not easy. That engineering in University of Pretoria, I flee from that one. I decided that I'm going to UJ. I'm not going to
Like, none of
Pretoria.
this.
No, I don't want none of this. But as a person who is a graduate from University of Pretoria, and all your experiences that you experienced while you were there, what advice can you give to someone who's in tertiary today? They may be studying engineering or whatever they're studying.
So I actually had a very interesting epiphany when I left university.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finished university, I had a whole list of advice that I could give people. A
Yeah.
whole list.
Yeah.
And like when I went back and reflected on the list, I realized very quickly that it's all like the generic advice that people give you, like the stereotypical advice that you're like, whatever, I've heard it before, whatever, whatever. And what I realized was that that advice is actually so valuable because it's what every person that's gone to university has experienced, right? So if anything, there's more value in that advice than there is in advice that you would hear like just once or twice. So it's the thing of like, remember why you're at university, not that you just do party, right? You're there to study. It's the things like maintaining that work-life balance. Don't forget to like exercise and eat healthy and all that kind of stuff. And it's like that kind of advice that you just like throw by the wayside is actually the best advice that somebody can give you, because it's what everyone comes to learn and everyone has to deal with.
Yeah. I understand.
So my piece of advice for the audience would be not to just throw that advice by the wayside, actually like embrace it and listen to it.
Yeah. What's the best advice that you ever received from somebody?
So there's actually a story to this one. I remember when I was still in school, I was on camp, and I'd been on camp for, I think it was the 11th day at that point. And we'd be spending like 2 or 3 hours a night sleeping. So like for the last 10 days, I've been sleeping for 2 or 3 hours. So I was physically exhausted. It was like also extremely cold and we were hiking. So I was sore all over my body. I was emotionally spent. And on this hike, we came to a water stop. And I asked one of the staff how much further it was to get to the end. And they said to me, put one foot in front of the other and one foot in front of that. And keep repeating that and you'll eventually get to where you want to go. So I was like, whatever.
That's a very general thing.
Sure, dude, whatever. Because remember, we were hiking. So it was like basically saying, keep walking and you'll get there. But something that really, really like stuck by me. And I've encountered a lot of those kind of like areas and like challenges in life where just by putting one foot in front of the other and keep taking each small step in front of another, you eventually get to achieving your main task, no matter how unachievable it seems. So I think that advice would be like any seemingly unachievable task becomes achievable when broken down into small actionable steps. And that's something that I've like then it didn't seem like anything important, but it's been something that's been recurring throughout my life. And that's why I always love to give that piece of advice, because I think it's so relevant. Whenever we're feeling like facing a challenge that seems daunting, it's too big, just put one foot in front of the other and one foot in front of that. And you will eventually get to where you want to achieve.
Right. No, that's really, it sounds very general and very common to hear, but it's something that many people, I feel like we don't actually apply it in our daily lives or in things that we are doing. As people, we have this habit of, when you're doing something, you want it to move.
Jump straight to the end.
Jump straight to the end. But we forget that, no, man, put one foot after the other and eventually you'll get there. So that's a very important thing that I'm taking away from this.
I felt the exact same way when I got it. That's why I was like, yeah, sure, dude, whatever. But it's like through those experiences and like learning the hard way. And that's why it's become so profound, is because it seems like generic kind of thing. But when you start applying it to your daily life, you realize even like the basic things, just the fundamentals, are so, so important. And as you say, everyone just wants to jump straight to the end, but it's like building one step on top of the other and mastering it as you go.
Mm.
That eventually gets you to where you want to be.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm really taking from this conversation. Just take it one step at a time and not rush,
Mm.
anything. So yeah, thank you very much for mentioning that. I just want your opinion on this. You know, I've observed that our country is going through so much chaos right now. There is a lot of things that are happening in this country that they are not just affecting us now, but some of the things that are being done are going to affect the next generations, and everything is things like corruptions and everything, because there are people who are now deciding that they want to stand out and expose all those sorts of things that are happening,
Mm.
behind the scenes, things that we are not seeing. Do you think there is a possibility that this generation that we are in, or the people of this generation, some of us are going to rise to become, leaders, maybe leaders in parliament or president? Because I've observed that it's a very little percentage, and I stand to be corrected. I feel like
Mm.
it's a very little percentage of people who are actually taking these matters into account. I feel like most of us were just overlooking it. Like, oh, Mkwanazi exposed who, and we said, okay, cool, fine. But we don't actually pay attention of like, this is the future of our country. Things that are happening right now, if they carry on, this country is gonna go down the drain. Do
Mm.
you think we are that generation where there is people who are going to stand like Mandela, people who are going to stand like Thabo Mbeki, who became great leaders in this country?
I think what will happen is we as a youth are growing and we're developing into who we are going to become for tomorrow. And there is going to be a time where the current leaders are going to have to step down, and we as today's youth are going to have to step up and take over. And I think it's an awkward mix. Like I was looking at Stats SA posted their surveys for the last for the first quarter of 2025,
Mhm.
and what I saw there was about 60 to 63% is the youth unemployment rate in South Africa.
Mm,
Of that, there's a further rate or another rate called the NEET rate, or not in employment, education, or training, and that's saying about 45%.
mm,
So I think you got to put it into the context of their current situation of if you don't know where your next meal is coming from, this whole thing of somebody outing whoever or taking over the country tomorrow seems like a distant, kind of unachievable future or reality. When you like like caught up in the day to day, where's my next meal going to come from? How am I going to get through the week? How am I going to get through the month? So I think it's very difficult to kind of say we're going to see those kind of things.
yeah.
But it's also important to remember that those people were exceptional in their generations.
Mm,
So not an entire generation was a Nelson Mandela or a Thabo Mbeki. It was just
mm,
one or two people that stood out from the rest.
mm,
And I think amongst the entire population of today's youth, I think there's certainly going to be those one or two guys that stand up and say, this is where we are today, and this is where I want to take us into the future of tomorrow.
yeah.
So I think definitely it's easy to like look at our population and say, are we going to get there? Are we going to make it?
Mm,
But I think in the sidelines, there's people
yeah.
that will be able to, or will be in a position where they can step up and say, this is where we need to be.
It would be very great, man, to have people who will stand up and be so eager in building this country, just like some of our previous leaders. Um, you know, I know that we kind of perceive the current leadership as being, uncaring for our country, uncaring for their people. That I don't know about that, but we have opinions as people. Each
Yes,
and
we do.
every
Yeah.
person has their own opinion. There's what you think about the current president. There is what I think about the current president. There is what is actually the fact about the current president. But I really wish that we we could rise, the people who were chosen to be the leaders for the next generations, that they don't miss that chance, but they actually rise. Because I feel like for the countries that are struggling today, other African countries and any other countries that are struggling, for instance Zimbabwe and all other African countries where they even have hardships in accessing clean water, I feel like there were people whom God chose to build those countries, but they were not able to do their assignment. It's like it's that situation that comes because someone didn't do their job. And my prayer and my wish is that in our country, uh, this generation, we don't become like those type of people who were sent to do something, but we missed it.
But don't end up doing it. Yeah.
And yeah, and now South Africa ends up going down the drain and become the way how many people think it's becoming right now. So it's a very important fact. Ryan, thank you very much for coming through, man. It wasn't a very long conversation, but I can tell you that I've learned so much and I've taken so much from what you said. Taking things one step at a time, taking time to rest. It's a very profound thing that I'm taking out of this conversation. And I really appreciate you for taking your time to come through. I've been waiting for this. And I don't take it for granted that you took your time, you came here. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you for having me.
And I pray that God blesses you with everything that you want to do in your life. May He be the one who leads you. May you help you to discover more and more of your purpose and what He sent you to do in this world. And may you live to embrace, what God brought you to do.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I
much.
really appreciate that.
You're welcome, man.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.